I know you're thinking it, and you're absolutely right. This tank looks an absolute mess, and there is a reason behind it. I'm trying something out at the moment where I have zero intervention with this tank. So I'm not putting my hand in the tank at all, I'm not cleaning the glass. All I'm doing is feeding the fish, topping up the ATO, and checking the water parameters weekly. That is the only thing I'm doing on this tank at the moment. It's something that I've always wanted to try, and I'm going to do it for the full month. With 2 weeks in, that's why the glass is such a mess, and I've got 2 weeks left. I've pretty much got to the point recently where my hand is in this tank almost every other day. I'm always pulling like a dead snail out that my Timor wrasse has eaten, so I'm pulling the shell out. I'm either moving a frag or looking at something in a bit more depth. So I thought I would just try this out and see how I get on. Eat Sleep Reef did this a few months ago, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. He went on vacation, came back 2 weeks later, and he was amazed at the growth and the colour that the corals got within that period. So you know what I thought? I'm going to try it on this tank. We're going to go a full month without touching the tank, without putting my hands in the tank, just absolutely nothing. I am keeping a close eye on it, at the corals, the polyp extension, just to make sure everything's fine. You may notice I do have the torches back on the frag rack, and there's reason behind that. The green torch is still on the rock work, but the 2 gold torches, the full gold torch and the gold and green stem torch, they're both on the frag rack. They were on the rocks, and I felt like they needed a little bit more time acclimating, so I thought I'd use this month just to acclimate them a little bit better to the higher lights. And you may also notice the new addition, the New York Knicks torch. Massive shout out to Andy on Instagram, who sorted me out with this torch. I didn't think I was going to be able to get it because my ATO packed in 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and that was the money I was going to use to buy this torch. He saw that I'd removed the grafted Monty from the top left side of this tank. He said, look, if you're getting rid of the Monty, we'll do a straight trade. Traded it in for this torch, and I am over the moon with it. I actually sold him this torch probably about a year ago, and I'm glad to finally have it back in this tank. It is my all-time favourite torch, so I'm absolutely buzzing to have this one back in. The tank itself, it looks like a mess, but everything is happy and healthy in there. The only thing that is really stressing me out is this sand bed, and it's one of the reasons that I thought I'd do this. Because my Timor wrasse likes to eat my snails, I'm always in there pretty much every day pulling something out. Dead snail, an empty snail shell, something that he's killed. I should really get rid of that wrasse, but I like him too much, and yeah, it cost me a fortune in replacing snails, but I really do like him, so we'll keep him. So yeah, that's the kind of thought process. I thought, I am putting my hand in this tank every day, and I really need to stop doing it. So no glass cleaning, no hand in the tank. I did a 20% water change the day that I started this. I'm going to do a 20% water change today because we're 2 weeks in, and then we're going to leave it another 2 weeks before we do anything with this tank. I'm going to do a big cleanup video in 2 weeks. We're going to clean the glass, we're going to get rid of all the crap on the sand bed, and we're going to make this tank look absolutely gleaming again. But yeah, everything in there is absolutely great. Big news, the Pikachu Acropora is finally starting to grow. I've had this Pikachu Acropora for, it's got to be about a year, and it has done nothing but base out. And about a week ago, I noticed that it is actually finally starting to branch out, which is almost unbelievable because I didn't think it was ever going to grow. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing about that. I don't put it down to this no hands in the tank thing. I think it's just finally settled in, and it's finally starting to grow. Coral growth all around is absolutely insane. That's another thing. I'm always nipping corals off, and I'm going to do that monthly now. So any corals that need trimmed, I'm just going to put my hand in the tank once a month and remove what I need to remove. And I just wanted to test it out. It's always something that I've wanted to test out, just not putting my hands in the tank, because I'm really bad for it. And I think if I go a full month with no hands in the tank, I'll maybe think about next time I go to put my hands in the tank, maybe I'll think, maybe I'll just leave it a few more days. Maybe that doesn't need moved now. So yeah, literally feed the fish every morning, top up the ATO every week, do my weekly water tests, water parameters. To be honest, I've actually noticed an increase in alkalinity consumption since I've started this, which is quite unusual. Maybe the corals are a little bit happier, and maybe they are growing a little bit faster. To be honest, I wouldn't mind if they slowed down a little bit on the growth, because it's becoming a bit of a pain with some of them. I mean, an Acropora, constantly pulling pieces off this Acropora. Same with this Montipora Hachusa in the middle. Always nipping pieces off that because it just grows like crazy. But yeah, hopefully I'm going to try and pull some more colours out of these. Someone did mention in a previous video that my SPS is looking a little bit pale, and honestly, I completely agree with you. And looking back on videos from say 4 or 5 months ago, I feel like the colours were a lot more intense, and I'm trying to put my finger on it. And the only thing that I can think that I've changed in the last 4 or 5 months is lanthanum dosing. And I reduced my phosphate levels. I always tried to aim for 0.02 phosphate levels, but when I was running RoaPhos and GFO, I could never actually get down to 0.02 phosphate levels. So I always ended up getting like 0.05, but it was really unstable. So it'd be 0.05 and it would go up to 0.09, and then I'd replenish the media, then it would go back down to 0.05. Lanthanum dosing is a lot more stable, but I've stabilized it at a very low level. So I'm actually increasing the phosphate levels in this tank. I'm taking it very, very slowly. I'm going to go from 0.02 and I'm going to bring it up to 0.05. Maybe that'll bring some more colour in. I'm thinking it's going to bring in a lot more algae than anything else to start with, but I'm just going to go through the algae stage. I'm not going to worry about what the rocks look like. I'm just going to concentrate on the corals. I feel like they are looking a lot more pale than they used to, and I put it down to nutrients because I always try to keep nutrients really low, and since I've started dosing that lanthanum, it is so easy to keep it really low that I feel like I've probably gone a little bit too far. So yeah, that's something that I'm experimenting with, and hopefully I'll get some good results. I do like to take things very slowly, so I'm not just going to whack it straight up to 0.05. Currently we're sitting at 0.04 from 0.02, and we're about 2 weeks into increasing the phosphate levels. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on how that's going. I do really hope I pull some more colours out of these corals. I've even thought about coral foods, but I find that coral foods, the problem with coral foods is I'm the issue. So if I start feeding AB+ from Red Sea, because you can't put it on an automatic doser, I'll forget one night, I'll forget 2 nights, and by the time I've realised that I've not fed the coral food, it's like 3-4 days. I do have Easy Reef's Easy SPS, I think it's called, phytoplankton feed, and I might start thinking about putting that on a doser. But I don't want to do it just yet because I'm changing the phosphate levels. I sort of want to see the results from increased phosphate levels before I start adding something else in there. So it'll be a good few weeks before I even think about coral foods. So yeah, that will pretty much wrap it up for this week's video. It's just basically an update on the tank and why it looks so crappy. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. If you have, please do drop it a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, and I shall catch you next week, guys.